breathable, comfortable, minimalistic, and very, very wearable. Well, turns out fashion can be all that and more. And who better to help break that down for us than Anavila Misra. Hi Anavila, thank you so much for taking time out for this. Building a brand out of linen sarees, tell us a little bit more about what that's been like.
Thank you for having me for this interview. I started working with linen around 12 years back, and the thought was, I'm a design graduate from NIFT. The thought was very simple. I was fascinated with sari. I wanted to wear sari. I was working with rural artisans and looking at weavers and rural women wear sari all the time. My mother, my grandmother, all of that. But there was a time, I was just out of college or I was working. I was looking for that sari which could be me. And in pursuit of finding that sari, I think I created that sari. So that was initially the beginning of the thought of creating a sari using a yarn like linen. That's where my journey started, because I wanted to make something which was contemporary, which was easy, comfortable, but also very, very modern, and could take sari to a platform where you're wearing a sari, but it doesn't pull you down in terms of that you're looking bigger than what your age is. You're looking elder. You're wearing something which is fuddy-duddy, or you're wearing something which is very traditional. So sari, though it is a very integral part of our heritage and culture, but we also have to understand young girls like you, or a modern Indian woman, when she wants to wear a sari and wants to embrace her culture, she also wants to at the same time look modern and at par with the world. So what do we, what does she wear? So that was the original idea which kind of pushed me to work with linen and create a sari which was a hybrid of a Indian look but with a foreign yarn. As I don't know whether you know or not, but linen which we use for our sarees is not grown in India. It's not indigenous yarn to our country. So that yarn was imported from Europe, and then it was woven on Indian handlooms, and that's why we get a sari which has the comfort and breathability of a linen, but very, very Indian at the same time.
Clearly, enough designers are not working with the kind of fabrics that you do. Is that because of skepticism from consumers as well regarding the kind of fabrics? Tell us about some of the challenges encountered.
Definitely, yes. If you see our palette in terms of textiles and color, in places and spaces where we spend money, so a wedding or festivals, we mostly see silk in India, brocade in India. But if you go deeper into the history and of textiles itself, and where textiles are found in the ruins, or have been saved from olden civilizations, you find linen and cotton as the yarns or the textiles which were worn even by the royalty. And there's a reason behind it. The reason is because we live in a tropical weather which is really warm most of the year. The winters are really small, and some parts of India don't even get those winters. And so for me, the understanding of comfort, even if it is festivities or it is celebration, comfort comes very, very important. And how then you embellish something which is a linen or a cotton to make it, luxury is actually, true luxury is comfort. How you're feeling wearing that garment. So it has been difficult because our definition of something which is more celebratory has been opulence, has been something which is created with a lot of surface ornamentation or sheen, and we've been looking at that. So it has been difficult to kind of break that mold and say that luxury can be quiet and comfort comes first, and how you feel is more beautiful than the sheen you want to put on yourself to be a certain way. So it has been a journey of that, and And we have like-minded people who understand our language and our philosophy and come for what we create.
You've also recently launched a bridal collection made of linen and khadi. What's the response to that been like?
So, you know, why we started Amod was that we already had some of our clients who are, who believe and trust in our philosophy and have been working with us, our patrons who've been with us for a very long time. And we did some weddings, before even thinking that we will get into a space which is wedding. And that kind of inspired us because if you see, there is a huge space emerging, parallel space emerging of mindful living, mindful consumption, and that also brings in a customer who's very mindful about what she's wearing, whether it is her wedding, how she wants her wedding to, because it's such an important part of your life. How do you want that wedding to take shape? And apart from, clothing is a very important choice because that's the memory you take forward in terms of pictures, in terms of, how you capture your wedding. So clothing is a very, very important part of it. Decor is a very important part of it. And we had a very wonderful person, she had a sustainable wedding theme. They created the whole setup themselves. Her father and her friends and husband, they created that mandap. And then everything which was used for decoration was sustainable. And the food was, organic. And then she chose to wear our clothing for that very, very special day. And that kind of inspired us to create our mode. And as you asked, that what is the response, we've already dressed a lot of brides in the last 6 months of us launching our mode. So it has been tremendous.
Is having a signature style also a constraint at times?
I feel it is easy to have one signature and focus in that area, because with the current circumstances in which we live of very fast consumption of not only products but also content, in that space to be carried away and creating every month thinking of putting up something new or creating something new. I think we are very happy and content with the direction we have taken. And actually it does challenge us because you are working in a limited space of textiles and yarns you work with, but then that is a challenge which you give yourself, and you're able to creatively do much more. Because if I'm working with linen since last 12 years, and I have a set customer, 80% of my customer is a repeat client and 20% adds on every year. So I have to see that if you've been buying from me every year, what do I offer to you in my next collection which will make its place in your wardrobe. So we also keep in mind, for example, this saree which I'm wearing right now is around 8 to 7 years old. It's from that collection, but this blouse is from the current Ethic collection. So we also are very mindful about how things from the past collections match to things in the products which we create in newer collections, because it's going in a similar wardrobe or the same wardrobe of a client. So to create novelty in our textiles, it then pushes us to be creative, and that's why we get the kind of response we get. It's very easy to go from one cluster to another cluster and create something new, but to be able to go to that same cluster and do something new needs innovation. You need to understand that what do you do to linen textile, how do you, whether it is jamdani, a technique, or it is usage of another yarn with this yarn, or the blending, or even the yarn dyes you want to create, how you play with color. All of that is then which makes your product unique and keeps you going.
Okay, and also, tell me about what goes behind pricing. So, when you price something, you have a fairly diverse price profile for your offerings. What sort of goes behind pricing a piece?
So, it all starts from the raw material. And largely the sarees are woven in the clusters by the weavers we've been working with from the very beginning of the brand itself. So the costing of the product is done by them. if we are doing a new design for a plain sari, we work with the cost, and that cost, as the revision of the raw materials happen, it is revised year to year. But beyond that, when we do a new design, then the weaver works on the cost, and he tells us the cost, and then we build up the MRP on that cost.
I do want to understand, what is the consumer profile? What is the kind of consumer that typically tends to buy an Anavila?
Yes, once you wear a linen sari, so that's the repeat client I was talking about, that once you wear a comfortable linen or khadi sari, it becomes very difficult for you to kind of embrace something which is not comfortable or breathable. You get so used to. Also, linen has a inherent property of getting crushed in a certain way, because it is a short staple length, it's not a long staple length. But that also, so that makes it into a plus point, because a lot of corporate women who wear our saris say that from 9 to 5 I was in the sari and it just looked comfortable, and I was so comfortable.
We've seen the government push Made in India. Tell us a little bit about what is needed in terms of policy and intervention, and what's the landscape been like so far?
So we've in the last 10 years of this government, specifically, there's a lot of conversation around textiles, hand-woven textiles, artisans, craft clusters. I think there's a lot of education that has happened online through social media. Now clients, when they come, they know techniques, they know crafts, they know weaving. So that is a very, very positive sign that people understand that this is an ikkat, or this is a block print, or this is a certain kind of a weave, this is jamdani. But on the so there's been rise in terms of understanding of Indian textiles and weaving and craft clusters and techniques, but at the same time it is becoming something to be in, so a hashtag like hand woven, or handmade in India, or textile made by hand, or craft clusters, or hand block printing, it's become a marketing gimmick as well. Because it's an easy, because customers are more mindful, they're looking for products with stories. So it's very easy to create a story without having the actual backend to support it. So I think in this kind of a space, when when there's a huge interest in what is created by hand and actual artisanal products, we should have some checks in place, so that when somebody says that this is khadi, it should be a khadi, and when we are talking about hand block printing, it should be a hand block printing and not a digital print being passed as a hand block printed. Or if it is hand woven, there should be a certification that this is hand woven, so that the customer, a customer who doesn't understand weave so well, is able to choose rightly, and it's not being just used as a marketing gimmick to pass on easy products. Yeah,
we've seen advertising in case of Anavila be very organic and word of mouth. Tell us a little bit about your advertising strategy.
So I think in today's world, social media has helped us a lot in terms of reaching to a wider clientele. Word of mouth is very, very important. So many times you've got calls from people, from women who've said, I've just seen somebody wear a linen sari and I wanted to know more about it. So initially that was how people got to know, women got to know about our product. It was, you saw somebody and you saw the sari and you thought it was very unique and beautiful, and you wanted to know where it came from. So I think the product stands for itself, and word of mouth is very, very important. Where our product is concerned, but also social media. We put up our stories, we do campaigns every year, and we keep talking about the back end of our product to the consumers. If you see our social media space, you will see that we've been very upfront in kind of taking our consumers back to where it all starts. So we've kind of created stories and series around our artisans, how the work is done, the whole process, which is very, very open for people to see and experience. So that has also created awareness about what we do.
Okay, all right. And so, we spoke about what an Anavila customer is like. Are most of your customers largely from larger cities, or is it a very diverse range of people from all walks of life in other tier 2 and tier 3 cities as well?
We have clientele from tier 2 and tier 3 cities as well, and from all walks of life. So we have people from media, business, politics, housewives, teachers, businesswomen.
Okay, all right. Tell us a little bit about growth going forward. What is the vision for the brand, or what are expansion plans like?
So, we are, as I told you, quality comes very, very important to us, and so expansion also is something which we take slowly and more organically, as much as we can do with the number of artisans and weavers we work with. But I see slowly more and more Indians. Indian market is our biggest market, and we see more and more Indians, starting to think about home in a more mindful way and spending more time and mind space into how they curate their homes. And I think that is something which, apart from from sarees we've gone into apparels. We've also kind of in the last 12 years of 4-5 years of just being sarees, we've got into apparels, and now I think we will slowly get into the home space, because we sleep on our bed for good 7 to 8 hours, and what our furnishings are made of also plays a very important part on our well-being. So that's the space we really want to work in now.
Thank you so much for that, Anavila. This was a most enlightening conversation. Well, maybe that's your cue to go buy yourself a linen sari if you don't have one already in your wardrobe. Thank you for watching. Do stay tuned for more. Linear structures, geometric lines, modern contemporary art. Yes, these are just some of the things that Rohit Gandhi and Rahul Kanna draw inspiration from. In today's episode of The Runway, I'm in conversation with Rahul Kanna from the Eponymous label. Rahul, thank you so much for taking time out for us.
Well, I'm so excited to meet you. I'm happy you're here from Mumbai. Excited.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now let's delve straight into it. Menswear, you're one of the first sort of brands to have delved into that space, and how. So what was the thought process really behind wanting to enter that specific segment? How did it all start?
Well, I think the concentration of most of the designers have been women in India, and I think we specialize in women's wear as well, but I think men are more special for us, and then we started as a menswear designer, and that was 97. So I think our concentration, as we could wear our own clothes, we tried experimenting, and I think since we've started, there's no looking back, and our forte is menswear, and that's why our menswear is on the ground floor and the women's wear is here. But yes, we are excited about menswear, and it's a huge market which is being underlooked at in India, and we are opening more and more menswear stores at the moment, and that's our focus.
Okay, so how has that segment evolved over the last 25 years? How have tastes and preferences of the male consumer changed?
Well, yes, of course, the first 2-3 years when we started, mothers, sisters, girlfriends used to come and shop for their boyfriends. But now men want to know what they are wearing. They are fitter, they're smarter, they know what they want, and they don't want to be overshadowed with the huge bling which women are wearing these days. And we are specializing at the occasion wear right now. The wedding season is here, and I think men, when you take photographs, men were wearing just simple grays and blacks and navy suits, but now they want some kind of ornamentation, some kind of specialization. The Indian contemporary is becoming modern. We specialize in tuxedos. We are a formal wear, so people come to us for their cocktails, come to us for their receptions, come to us for their weddings. So now that's the biggest market we are seeing right now in India.
And is this a small town phenomenon as well, or are most male consumers largely from metropolitan cities?
Well, we have 3 stores in Delhi, and I think most of our customers are coming out of Delhi, and we see a huge rush on the weekends, and we are seeing 60% of our clients coming from not in Delhi. So that's very exciting because Delhi people know and they can come anytime. But during the weekends, we usually are getting customers from different cities, whether it's Chandigarh, Nagpur, Indore, Calcutta, Mumbai, we have a store so already. So people from the north do come on the weekends.
Okay, now help us unpack the male wardrobe. Like, what are your best-selling items? What do you typically tend to see men wearing towards for their occasion wear?
Well, of course, we started as a shirt brand, so everybody has to have some shirts by us. And I think a classic Bangala is a must-have because that's the red carpet Indian traditional wear. Of course, a beautiful tuxedo. We do a lovely office wear jackets. We do unlined jackets. So it's summer right now, so we are whole powered on the linen suit.
What are your expansion plans for the label going forward? Do you also want to enter more specific segments? Do you also plan to start off in other cities apart from Delhi?
Well, I think Rohit and Rahul were concentrating more on the international market before, and we were participating in all the international fairs for the last 15 years. Our concentration has shifted after the COVID, after things have changed. We are focusing more on India. The India is expanding like how. The market is super amazing. People want to dress up. People have more and more occasions. Some people don't want to repeat their clothes. That's with men and women. But I think the market is growing and we can't find a better market than India. So no looking further to overseas. India is our best.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about that. So, it's very interesting that you've mentioned that you were earlier sort of more export-oriented maybe, and then in the pandemic, what caused that shift and why do you think that's a strategy you are currently betting on?
Well, I think we also, when the pandemic happened, we wanted to keep our hand workers alive. We wanted to keep their jobs there. So we started experimenting with couture. We had never done couture. And we started doing couture because, they were sitting at home and they wanted to make some livelihood. And we started doing embroideries. We started taking old Indian embroideries and started doing it on Western clothes. And I think the shift changed and we got an overwhelming response after things got better. And we feel that why not India, and why do we have to look further for a market when the market is so beautiful here? And we don't need to go anywhere else.
That's very interesting. So post the pandemic, do you feel there's been a change in tastes and preferences in terms of the consumer you're catering to? Is it what they're seeking?
Well, I think we have some loyalists.
Now?
We have some loyalists
Sure.
who like to buy Indian, who like to take like right now, people used to travel abroad and they used to buy things from international brands. But I think when people are going, they are, I've seen the holiday seasons here right now, May and June, and people were coming for resort wear to us, and they said we are traveling, we want to take a homegrown brand with us. We'll mix and match with whatever they will. So I think there is a kind of a trust in the Indian brands because we are making some beautiful clothes and a lot of Indian designers are making some really nice pieces, and we are at par with the international brands. Prices are great, finishing is fabulous, so why not buy from here?
Okay, now that's again interesting. So you feel like, post the pandemic, the Indian consumer, the Indian H&I consumer is also sort of starting to look inward when they maybe shop. Like, that's a phenomenon we've seen in a lot of industries, right? Maybe tourism, for instance.
Yeah.
We've seen how Indian tourists are now, increasingly preferring domestic destinations apart from just foreign ones. We've seen a surge there. Do you think something similar is happening in terms of fashion?
100%. We actually, when all this ended and we were talking about our hand weavers and karigars and how everybody's supporting them, I think there was some kind of a passion within people that, okay, yes, we also need to support them. And I think the trend grew after that, and I feel that a lot more of people buying Indian Western wear from India, and Indian, of course, India is the best for hand embroideries. But yes, the trust is there, and people are coming back for that.
Thank you so much for this conversation. I've learned a great deal about menswear, what's shaping the Indian fashion landscape, and more importantly, about how Indian designers are also looking inward now.